Hi, my name is Joseph Anarola, and today we're going to be talking about how to change your tax rates in Positouch. To get started, you first find your Positouch desktop icon. You're going to want to double click on that, and it may prompt you to log in. By default, the username is GM, and by default, the password is usually GM as well. I'm going to hit enter. Once you get logged into the Positouch back office, you'll notice there's several icons here in the top left. To change your tax rates, you go to back office setup. You look for the tax rates label. You expand that by clicking the little plus sign right here. It may be a little small to see on your screen, but it's a plus sign. When you click it, it turns into a minus, a dash. Once you've expanded tax rates, you're going to want to click on the first one that says tax rates. Now, by default in Positouch, everything can have up to 4 tax rates. There are more that you can unlock, but by default nobody generally uses more than 4. In this particular instance, you have tax rate number 1 is your state sales tax, which is set at 6%, and this is a local tax that's implied. Some counties, some cities, some states may have an extra tax on top of the regular sales tax. In this particular case, this place is located in Greenville, South Carolina, so it's got a state tax, a local tax of 2%, and it also has a mixed drink beverage / liquor tax for 5%. If you're in some place like the state of North Carolina, you'll probably only have one straight tax. In some areas like Mecklenburg County and the Charlotte area, you will have an extra tax added onto that as well. To change the sales tax, you change it right here. There are some other options in here that you may ask questions about. One's the rounding code. This particular place is set to round up to the nearest amount. In other words, sometimes a price, if it's given a discount, for example, will be within a fraction of a percent, like something might be 3.146. In this particular case, it's going to round up to 3.15. The round amount set for 1 is going to round up to the nearest amount. There's also a flag on here to always round tax to include to the favor of the restaurant, and what that's going to do is basically make sure that you always collect your sales tax. Something you'll notice, usually I get a lot of questions about this, is when people run their daily sales report or their sales journal for a month or a week or for a period of dates. Oftentimes they'll call me and say, I don't think my tax rate's right. I'm collecting too much sales tax, it seems. And the way I explain it to them is that due to rounding, sometimes things round up, sometimes things round down. But if this flag's set in this particular instance, any chance or opportunity that the guest check has to round up, it will add a penny in the situation. So what ends up happening is you never end up being short on collecting tax from your customers. So your establishment, if you round up once a day, 1 or 2 cents or 15 cents, and you multiply that over a period of time for 30 days, it's totally plausible that you could be 1, 2, 15, sometimes $20 over in sales tax that you've collected for the month. And unfortunately, there's nothing you can do about this. If you turn that flag off, you're going to run the risk of being short a few dollars at the end of the month, and whatever you decide to do is up to you guys. But just be conscientious that sometimes, due to rounding, that the math doesn't always play out to be exactly right. Something else you might want to check is anytime you change the taxes, you always want to do a spot check of your menu items and just make sure that they're, especially new items, that they have the right tax flags that are set. In this particular establishment, they're using an older version of Positouch menu editor called Menu W. It has a menu editor icon here, and to edit the prices, you go to edit and order screen. You click on an item, and you click on order screen, then you click on an item, and then here you can see where the tax codes are set. You got tax 1 and tax 2. So this particular mug of beer, for example, is charging tax 1 and tax 2, which would correspond with over here on the tax rate setup. So if you go over here to tax rates, you can see it's charging tax 1 and 2, so it's charging a total of 8% sales tax. The 5% set for mixed drinks. Sometimes when people set up new menu items, they forget to check the right flags, and they end up at the end of the month when they go to reconcile, they look at their sales by category for liquor or for beer or for wine, and they don't understand why they didn't collect the right amount of tax. And it's usually 99% of the time it's not that the tax rates in the systems are wrong, is that they forgot to check a flag somewhere when they built a new menu item into the system. Let's see if we can find some liquor here, or a mixed drink. Let's see here, specialty cocktails. If I click on a specialty cocktail, for example, you'll see right here has tax 1, 2, and 3. Now the other thing that's going to affect the tax that you collect and the tax that you set in the system is going to be the cell type. And it doesn't matter whether you're using the older version of menu W or the newer quick menu. Both of them have the same check boxes for tax 1, tax 2, tax 3, tax 4, as well as a cell type. Now see, this particular place here has tax 4 checked and there's nothing there, so it's not going to charge anything. We just saw that in the tax setup. But over here on the cell type though, there's primary item taxed included, primary item not taxed. And the difference is primary item tax is going to be that this particular item is going to ring up for $7.25 plus 6 plus 2 plus 8%. Sorry, 6 plus 2 plus 5%. So it'd be $7.25 plus 8%. So that's what would come up on the guest check. Tax included, for example, if I was to change this to tax included, it would say that the tax rates are still going to be 6, 2, and 5, but it's going to back it out of the total. So when the customer gets the check would be for a straight $7.25. But if I was to run a daily sales report, for example, it would say that my liquor sale was 8% short of $7.25, and then it'd have a line on there for sales tax, and it would come out to be the total plus sales tax is $7.25. Primary item not taxed, that's rarely ever used, and you should always use it with caution. About the only instance where you would use a primary item not taxed is a gift certificate. When you're selling a gift card or a gift certificate, because the customer pays the tax on whatever they purchase when they redeem the gift certificate. The only items that would qualify as not taxed would be items that was already taxed in some other form or fashion. And so just be cautious when you use that. Most customers use primary item taxed for main food items. Some bars or nightclubs will use tax included on items, so they don't have to deal with ringing up change back and forth. Now there's one more section that controls tax rates in Positouch, and that would be under your menu setup. So to double check that, you would exit out of the item, exit out of the order screen, exit out of the order screen builder. Go over here to define menus, and when you click on define menus, you'll see all of your menus laid out here. Now some places will only have 1 or 2 menus. This particular place has many types of menus, ones for different days and different weeks and for different things that are going on. If you double click on one of these menus, you'll see there's a master tax code right here. By default, 1 says that master tax code 1 would be that all items that are taxed included would be tax included, all items that are primary item tax or primary item tax, and all items that are tax exempt or tax exempt. Now this can be overridden by changing the master tax code. Sometimes you'll see a 3 right here, and what that means is basically 3 means that if a item is taxed included and an item that is taxed on a guest check, if they're on the same check together, since you're charging tax on one, you're going to go back and charge tax on the other. For example, if I rang up just a bottle of beer for $2 and tax was $7, the total check would be $2.14. But if I ring in a $2 side of fries and a $2 side of a $2 beer, then it would not be $2.14 plus $2, it would be $2.14 plus $2.14, which would be $4.20 to $4.38 total. And so that master tax code 3 basically just takes any items that are tax included, and if they're on the check with a item that is taxable, it makes the whole check and all the items on it taxable. That's just one way to increase your revenue profit, just by changing the tax liability on an item. Now the other thing that you have to remember is down here under define menus, every menu for the most part, is going to have these taxes applied: tax 1, tax 2, tax 3, tax 4. Sometimes people build the taxes up slightly different, just as a safeguard measure. Some of a menu only had food on it, they might uncheck tax 3 and 4 just so they're charging the sales tax plus the local tax. They don't want to run the risk of accidentally having the wrong tax box checked. But likewise, if you create a new menu, please be sure to check the appropriate tax boxes, usually 1, 2, 3, 4. Otherwise, you run the risk of not collecting enough sales tax. But in Positouch, those are the main things you want to check whenever you're looking at your sales tax and making sure you're checking the right tax rates. If you guys ever have any questions, concerns, or issues, please feel free to give us a call. Our 1-800 number is 1-800-849-5642. Thank you guys and have a good day. Bye-bye.